Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the press briefing in advance of Abu Dhabi Art 2023. We're enormously looking forward to the upcoming week, and we wanted to share a few highlights and updates in advance of the fair. Abu Dhabi Art is held under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Chairman of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council. Abu Dhabi Art is organised by the Department of Culture and Tourism, Abu Dhabi. And we're opening for our previews on Tuesday, the 21st of November, followed by our public days on the 22nd to the 26th of November 2023. I'm now going to introduce Venetia Porter, who's our curator for Gateway this year. Venetia was Senior Curator for Islamic and Contemporary Middle East Art at the British Museum, where she's now an Honorary Research Fellow. She studied Arabic and Persian and Islamic art at the University of Oxford, and her PhD from the University of Durham is on the history and architecture of medieval Yemen. Amongst her many exhibitions, highlights include Word into Art, Artists of the Modern Middle East in 2006, and Hajj, Journey to the Heart of Islam in 2012, Reflections, Contemporary Art of the Middle East and North Africa in 2021, amongst many others. Venetia has chosen to present a survey show of works by Hashel Al-Lemki, and I invite her to share insights on that exhibition, which you'll be able to see next week at Abu Dhabi Art. Venetia, over to you, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Diala, very much, and for inviting me to be curator for Gateway this year. If we can just go to the next slide, because it all started with, we can skip that. If you just go to the first image, that would be lovely. It all started for me when I went to the Lyon Biennale, which was curated by Sam Bardawil and Tilfa Rath. And I went in the very last days, just before it was due to close. And one of the things I saw was this work by Hashel Al-Lemki. And it happened that he was also there with his mother, showing her his incredible work. And I was mesmerized by this work. And so when you, Diala, very kindly invited me to be curator for Gateway this year, my immediate thought was that I wanted to work with one artist, having done several group shows fairly recently. So I thought, well, let's see if Hashel will accept to work with me. And so we've had an extraordinary journey, and we've got a few images here to show. But I think what struck me particularly about Hashel, as I got to know him and we became friends, I hung out in his studio, we went to Al Ain together. I was very interested in his story as having been brought up in Al Ain, in this place called Al Maqam, particularly, and his ties to that place, and also that the landscape there is completely extraordinary. It's dominated by this kind of mountain range called Jebel Hafid. And so we went there together, and I discovered really through talking at length to Hashel this kind of deep love that he has for this place that he was brought up in. Really, I learned a lot about him as a person, about his family life, and so on. And this place that he was brought up in, not only does he revisit it frequently, we can go to Versailles, I think is the next one. He goes, but he's of course he was brought up there, but he spent a lot of time in the States studying at Parsons and elsewhere. So we spent about 7-8 years away and traveled the world and so on. So but what really struck me was this connection to this place where he was brought up. So not only because the landscape sort of continues to inspire him, but it's also connected to his use of color, his interest in history, in geology in particular. I discovered that he'd been, making collections of stones and talking to experts about the stones, and all of this you see in his work. And we've been lucky enough to be able to have some very nice loans. So we see this work here. This is from a series that some people might have seen before. This was at an exhibition called Warehouse 421, curated by the wonderful Munira Sayer. It was in 2020. So we have this loan was acquired by His Highness Sheikh Zayed, and we have other loans from the Barjil Foundation, for example. So basically, and could we move on to some other pictures, perhaps? So essentially, what I was interested to do was to sort of look at the, as it were, the story so far, because Heschel has had some prominence. He's been in, had that extraordinary exhibition, which unfortunately I didn't see, curated by Munira. He's represented by Tabari, and he's had shows there. But I was very interested in seeing the story so far, so there are works included in the exhibition from these collections that some people will have seen before, but also lots that people will not have seen. When I went into his studio in Musaffah, I found these incredible things. So this astounding sculpture made from sawdust, and there's a light bulb on the foot, and it's just a joyous piece of work. And then I discovered he was making artist books, and those of you who know me know that I'm completely obsessed by artist books. So I was absolutely delighted that he was making books. And then what is really interesting is his experimentation with color as well. So a lot of that goes back to this interest in Al Ain, in the geology, the landscape, because he's very interested in color. He experiments a lot with color. He's very, very interested in sustainability as well. He's mapping his carbon footprint. This is very, very important to Heschel and is a very strong part of what he does. And I think the final thing I just want to mention is that not only the show at Gateway is, as I said, a kind of story so far, but it includes a lot of personal things. I asked him when he was going back to Maqam, hadn't lived there for 7-8 years, and Al Maqam, sorry, and I said to him, could you take some pictures of what it, go back to these places that you'd spent your childhood in, and he created this kind of enchanting set of Polaroid photographs, for example. And so in the exhibition, you're going to see some previous works, some new works, including an amazing video piece that he did called Desert Hay, which started life actually as a commission at the Sheikh Salama Foundation for emerging artists, and then which he revisited as an idea in Al Ula. And so we're going to see the film from there, but also he's created, this is my final thing, he's created an incredible work for the entrance to Abu Dhabi Art. So it's based on a painting that he made in 2021 called Bronze, and this alludes both to his interest in history, particularly to the Bronze Age of the region, but also the way that the material bronze changes over time. So he's worked for the first time in neon. So as you come into Abu Dhabi Art, particularly at night, you're going to see what started off as this painting here. This is going to be all kind of lit up with neon. He's also dyed his own fabrics, and it's going to be completely wonderful. So it's been a really wonderful experience for me working with Heschel and the team at Abu Dhabi Art, who are just absolutely incredible. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Phoenicia. It has been, a great privilege and delight working with you on Gateway this year, and being able to present Heschel's work really in the shape of a sort of survey show of where he's come to it thus far. It's so important for us to enable that kind of research and sort of thoughtful reflection on and critique of Heschel's work as one of the leading artists here in the UAE. So we thank you for doing that and making sure that we've captured some of his thoughts and experiences and writings as well, and lesser known works in this exhibition.
Thank you
and
so
in
much. And
the-
thank you so much, Jella. Can I just mention also that we've managed in this time to do a book, which will be available at the exhibition. So we're very, very proud of having been able to create this book for Hashel.
Likewise, we're so happy to have been able to enable that. It's it's a very special book, and we encourage everyone to come and discover it. It will be on display at the exhibition and in our special sort of art shop in the Welcome Pavilion. Thank you, Venetia, and thank you, Hashel. I can see you're with us. I wonder whether, in fact, we can. Hashel, would you like to say a few words on the experience of working with Venetia? We'd be delighted and honoured if you would.
Thank you, Diala, and thank you, Venetia. It's been an amazing experience and journey for me to not only look at my work, but also personally to grow and just like revisit these memories and like look at what's currently in the studio and plan future steps. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are now going to move to our Beyond Emerging Artists, which is an annual program that we organise each year, inviting a guest curator to work closely with 3 emerging artists from the UAE. And this year, I'm delighted to introduce you to Murad Montazami, who is, of course, a well-known figure here in the UAE. He has a publishing house, Zaman Publishing, and he's worked on a number of exhibitions at the Cultural Foundation and elsewhere in the UAE at the Louvre, Abu Dhabi, but also, of course, internationally at the Tates and Ive, recently doing a wonderful Malehi show, amongst other highlights. So, Murad, I'm going to ask you to kindly tell us a little bit more about the artists that you've been working with this year for Beyond Emerging Artists. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Diala, especially for inviting me as one of the invited curators for this year program. I am very honored and proud, especially that the Beyond Emerging Artist program has been a challenge, because we're talking about an quite experimental context and framework, in the sense that the artists nominated are creating new installations and even beyond artworks, proper space setup, sometimes even to the limit of a theatrical space, you could say. So it's been challenging, and I'm even more thrilled for that reason. And I guess even showing images for this conference is quite daunting, as the final result will be really the outcome of the installation that will begin in a couple of hours or days. So the 3 appointed artists for this program, Al-Maha Jaralla, Latifa Saeed, and Seimo Shalabi, are all based in the UAE, but they have been shaped differently, through their biographical roots, but also their multicultural roots that have brought them to where they now stand. And beyond their differences, I've been very interested to try to connect them by the fact that they all have an interesting way to navigate between historical issues and contemporary matters, between the private and the public space, and between subjective and collective memory. I should also say that what is highlighted in a way by bringing these artists together is a compelling and cosmopolitan vision of the Gulf region, in which I would say the cosmogonic phenomenon and ecological concern exceed the national borders for these 3 artists. And as a curatorial statement, I could also say that I've been trying to shape the project in a way that the 3 artists explore a new dialectics of daylight and nocturnal spaces in a world where global warming brings us to reconsider our normal schedules and to invent new extensions of our lives. The three installations, even if though very different, they all propose a kind of third space, you could say beyond day and night, seeking for what we could call a kind of speculative realism. So the first one, Al-Mahajaralla, which you can see here, has been exploring and investigating on a location close to Abu Dhabi called Al Ruwais, which she's been interested in as in other installation for her particular interest into postmodern and vernacular architecture. The Al Ruwais location has a particular experience of petro-modernity and petro-culture to unfurl in the present, almost in a science fictional atmosphere. And so Al-Maha has been working very closely as an investigator or almost as an ethnographer, revealing architectural elements from Al Ruwais that will give way to installation in the space, but also she looks particularly at the role of plants, nature, and gardens as a kind of survival of nature through vernacular architecture, or the survival of a connection to nature beyond this petro-modernity. She will actually also display a painting work, a large-scale painting work referring to the oil refinery and the oil industry kind of radiant landscape through which this cosmogonic or natural element can survive. Maybe we have a few photographic elements of her work in the next slide, maybe, which shows also how she analyzed Al Ruwais' location into a multimedia installation. The second artist is Latifa Said with her installation Dust Devils, which will offer a probably very much new and never seen experience, technological experience, based again on a kind of cosmogonic narrative and poetics of science. Latifa has been doing a lot of research, either natural landscape or again technological outcome of this landscape analysis throughout something specific to the Gulf, which we call dust devils, a certain kinds of tornado or whirlpools phenomenon coming together with the alliance of air, water, earth, and fire. And she will propose a kind of minimalistic but mesmerizing installation in which she uses three different devices, one of a smoke machine, the other one of a hologram, and also an electromagnetic device, bringing three different modalities of these tornadoes inspired by the natural landscape of the Gulf, and also as a kind of reminder of the fragility and resilience of this traditional landscape in the critical age of Anthropocene. So again, because it's a highly experimental installation that will really come to fruition and to live only on site in a few days, it's been quite a challenge to show you some images here, but fortunately she could share some of the laboratory and experimental research images working again between these electromagnetic device, hologram, and smoke machine. So we really expect you in a few days for the opening and to be able to witness that. And the third artist, which for who maybe I will give less development because we're lucky to have him with us in the conference and he will be able to speak for himself, is Seimo Shalabi, who's an Egyptian Palestinian artist based in the UAE, showing again this very much cosmopolitan background of artists living and working in the UAE. Seimo has a very interesting connection to some of the Latin American artists presented previously by Monelli, in the sense that we could see a lot of his work as a kind of neo-surrealist tendency in a contemporary world and reappropriation, actually not only of surrealism, but also Baroque and Renaissance art and traditions. He's an artist with an incredible knowledge of the history of painting and the history of Manierism or Baroque or Renaissance art. And he's also very much into a huge installation, putting up his paintings and photograph in something much more complex than just a painting display, really creating, unfurling with fabric and with a almost kind of performative use of the folds and how the fabrics throughout all the installation space will unfold and kind of unveil the paintings, and the photograph presented will almost function like a kind of maze in which the visitor will be invited to get lost in a way, not only with paintings and photography, but also micro paintings and jewels that Seimo has been repainted throughout several years. But I won't be longer than that because, again, Seimo is with us and he could share also his experience and how he wants to highlight his work. So this is it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. It's been so, I know, exciting and incredible for the artist to have the opportunity to develop the works with you and to work closely with you on the exhibition concepts that will soon be installed this weekend. So we thank you enormously for all the incredible work you've done with them this year. We're now going to invite Samo, who is, as Murad mentioned, kindly with us today, to tell us a little bit more about his exhibition and proposal for Abu Dhabi Art this year as one of the commissioned artists. So over to you, Samo, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. I just want to start by saying I'm very honored and grateful to be part of this wonderful team, working with Murad and Diala and everyone in the Abu Dhabi Art team. Has just been fantastic, and it's been an incredible opportunity. I'm really excited to be presenting 4 bodies of work within this show, and not only just creating paintings, but for the first time, creating the environment to inhabit the work and to kind of engulf the audience into this sort of world. So with textures and with audio and with set design, I'm kind of bringing them into my mind, and I think myself for the first time into a space where the work really belongs. So I'm very excited to be doing that. And like Murad was saying, I have much larger paintings contrasting with micro mini paintings. They're part of the 4 different bodies of work. So the miniature ones are from a series I'm calling Memento Mori, based on antique frames. And I've been collecting antiques for years now, as art history is a big passion of mine. And I collected over 55 frames in the past 2 years, all from different eras, dating from the 16th century to the early 1930s, which are my favorites. A lot of Art Deco, Art Nouveau, Victorian, Georgian, Baroque style. And then to my stage paintings, which are these very grand, large theatrical pieces that are on the slides now, that take me quite a long time to make and design, as it's kind of telling a story with each character, and with each little detail is there for a reason. And the frames themselves as well are very informed by my love for art history, neoclassicalism, Art Deco, Baroque, and all those 3 are shown here in the frames as well, with gold leaf, silver leaf, and white latex paint. And the curtain paintings that I'll be showing is a new direction that I'm heading in, that I'm really excited to explore, where I'm using, like Murad said, the fold as some sort of truth bearer between reality and fiction, where the audience can decipher for themselves what they see within the work. And these were based on my love of gemology, because I love gemstones. So these are based on tanzanite, citrine, emerald, and ruby, and they all explore relatively dichotomous worlds that are less crowded than my stage painting. So they're like little glimpses into the bigger picture of everything. And then on the last slide, I think I'll be showcasing 2 photographs. These are the miniatures, but I'll be showcasing 2 photographs from my Dante's Dream series, inspired by the epic poem by Dante Alighieri in the 15th century, The Divine Comedy, where Dante travels all three realms of paradise, purgatory, and inferno just to find himself in the end. And it's always been a very integral part of my work, that story, because it very much exemplifies the voyage of life in a very poetic way. So this was something that I did this year in the Cayman Islands during my residency. And photography is something I kind of explore once or twice a year, which kind of fuels a whole new load of inspiration for the next year and what I'll be exploring. But I'm very excited to be doing this show as it explores my three favorite things: symbolism, suggestivism, and surrealism, and kind of merging those together to create a very over excessive dream world for the audience to decipher. As for me, most of the works are quite personal therapeutic explorations that I like to see what the audience can see and how they relate to it and which character they're most drawn to. It just says a lot about that viewer to me, because it creates a very intimate experience. But yes, so that's the show that I'll be presenting. It's called What Lies Beneath, and I'm also, like I said, very excited to be exploring set design and playing with fabrics and audio and just kind of creating an experience rather than just a gallery space. So I'm excited to see you all there and to see how it all unfolds.
And to see which work appeals to everyone coming. That will be very telling.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we can't wait. I think this is going to be a really ambitious, exciting installation and exhibition, and I so look forward. So, any questions, of course, as we've said throughout this briefing, any questions for any of the artists or curators, please do email us afterwards with those, and we will make sure you're connected to the right people. I'm now going to briefly touch on, we do have also some commissions in historic and heritage sites in Al Ain. The artists have not been able to join us because they've done the Arabic briefing today, but it's just worth highlighting these very special commissions. Mohammed Ahmed Ibrahim, who's done something specifically sort of conceived as a gift for the Al Ain Oasis, and it's the first time he's done these sculptures with some of his sort of not lettering but symbols that he's created that are an entire language unto themselves. So it's the first time you see these symbols transferred from his paintings onto his sculptures, and you see these sculptures as somehow living amongst the trees organically. And then, of course, the incredible Najum has also done a very special exhibition at the Jahili Fort, where she's brought together a series of works called Artifacts of the Current Moment. And these were initially started during the pandemic when she had COVID herself, and she had to just think about the time passing and how to sort of capture that and just how to notice the things around her, whether the texture of tiny shells, as she says, or the softness of flower petals, or the impact of words, and then to somehow capture them in these incredible artifacts that she has created and are on exhibition at the Jahili Fort. We're now going to move to our community partners space at the fair this year. And again, in a first for us, we have first of all proposed these community partners to work collaboratively together on a particular sort of theme or subject matter, so that we could conceive of it as a little bit more of a laboratory where they actually maybe work together, shared ideas. And in particular, we've invited Nadine Malouf, who herself is the founder of an incredible sort of project called 81 Designs, which I'll let her tell you more about, but is really an inspiring and thought-leading one here in the UAE. We invited her to produce the whole section, to bring the community partners together, and to present it as a sort of as a whole statement, if you will, from our stakeholders in the community about sustainability. So over to you, Nadine, and thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Jala. So Into the Horizon, I'm just going to give you a little bit brief about the installation. Into the Horizon is an immersive and culturally significant installation that serves as a bridge connecting Abu Dhabi's community partners By seamlessly blending art and design, it offers visitors a thought-provoking experience that draws inspiration from the breathtaking natural landscapes of the UAE in line with the Year of Sustainability. The installation also highlights the importance of preserving the environment for generations to come, and it also serves as a cultural bridge connecting different community partners and their craft together. As Yala mentioned, there are 12 community partners, and the 12 are 81 Designs, Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation, Al Ghadir UAE Crafts, Ma'an Authority of Social Contribution, which is it's their first time participating at the art fair under the community partners projects. And it's there's Fatma bint Hazza Foundation, Fatma bint Mohammed bin Zayed Initiative, House of Artisans, Earthy Contemporary Crafts Council, Mariah Art Center, MOFA, which is also their first time participating in the community partner section, along with the NMS Society and Weaving Alliances. I want to discuss in the next slide my contribution from 81 Designs. 81 Designs is a social enterprise that works with Palestinian refugee artisans in promoting and preserving the craft of tatriz, which dates to 3,000 years ago. I set up this platform in 2017 to work with refugee women and help empower them and hone their skills by giving them a steady income and being able to give back to their communities by providing them with a brighter future in terms of longevity when it comes to work placement and given direction to give their stable income for them and their families. In this particular piece that I created for Abu Dhabi Art this year under the Into the Horizon, it's called Interwoven. And Interwoven is made with recycled rubber and tatriz, and it's a stability ball that represents a harmony between communities and cross-cultural heritage. So we worked this year with 5 different artists: El Cid, Bushra Badua, Hazem Harib, and Naish Collective, and Richard Yasmin. This stability ball in the picture is created by Hazem Harib, and it symbolizes the old carpets that were found in the industrial area of Gaza. And these are the traditional textiles that and patterns that they used to work with. Moving on to the next slide. This is a collaboration by Al Ghadir UAE Crafts with an artist named Loretta Bilskate Moni. It's called Trihal, The Journey. Its material is created from Sadu, which is part of the UAE Crafts, and it's a craft that's been preserved by Al Ghadir in particular. They employ low-income women from the Northern Emirates, primarily under Red Crescent. And this collection is tribute to the traditional Emirati design, brought to life with contemporary aesthetics, encapsulating the journey from ancient tribal roots to a modern innovative society. And in the next slide is Fatma bint Mohammed initiative. And they worked with Rod al-Shamsi, and it's a kilim carpet mimicking khus-like arrangements. So the khus pattern is found in the traditional Afghani carpet that's been woven by Afghani artisans. The carpet itself, it was made to tell stories of the Emirates, representing the long-standing connection between humans and the notion of handmade, which dates back to the deep roots of humanity. And on the 4th slide, we have Weaving Alliances. It's quite interesting because they decided to work with Rwandan artisans as well as Al Ghadir, UAE, which is found in the first slide, with their Emirati artisans. And their installation amplifies the voices of communities who possess invaluable knowledge, insights, and resilience while offering a platform for dialogue and collaboration that transcends boundaries and challenges preconceptions. As you've seen, the four different artworks that I selected all represent community and cultural bridges that are created with different crafts from not just the UAE, but from the region and beyond. And it's been a wonderful journey working with the 12 different community partners on this production. And we're looking forward to showing you the full installation at Abu Dhabi Art. Thank you, Jala, so much, and thank you. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to connect with me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that insightful overview of this really special community exhibition at the fair. We all look forward enormously. I'm now going to invite our curator for something called the Frozen Forest, Nicola Burio, who probably doesn't need much introduction, but it's worth touching on a few sort of highlights of his illustrious career. He was, of course, a curator at Tate Britain. He was a founder and co-director of the Palais de Tokyo. He's recently been announced as the curator for the Gwangju Biennale, and he wrote a seminal text on relational aesthetics, amongst many other things. He, of course, participated with us last year with a very special sort of art and food concept called Cookbook. And he has returned this year to present something called Frozen Forest. So, Nicola, over to you to tell us a little bit more about what's cooking for this edition of Abu Dhabi Art. Thank you. Oh, you're on mute. We're going to try. If you can just put your microphone on. Nicola, you're on mute.
Is that okay now?
Yes, perfect.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, sorry for this technical defect. Well, just wanted to say thank you first to Diana for renewing her confidence and the idea of prolongating the experience we had last year with Cookbook is very exciting, especially within this very rich context of this year. So the Radicans is what I call a curatorial cooperative that I founded 2 years ago, which provides and conceives exhibitions and programs. And this year we propose a slightly different type of project than last year, but based on the same convivial aspect. Yeah, because Frozen Forest is an exhibition, but within a convivial format. In a word, we thought about the idea of the oasis, in a way, a quiet place within the busy context of the art fair, where visitors will be experiencing artworks, of course, but also can enjoy contemporary cuisine. And it's not only food here, it's also an artistic expression, because Ivan Brem is absolutely, for me, a kind of a genius of cuisine today. So it's about a full experience, I would say, quite peculiar experience within an art fair. You know, we're not used to this kind of parenthesis within this kind of exhibitions. So the project is titled Frozen Forest, and it's very much related, of course, to the Anthropocene, and it goes very much also on the same direction than Morad Montazami, and I'm very happy that we're going into this. It's going to be constituted first of artworks which have been selected through the list of artists exhibiting in the art fair. The idea was also about sustainability in some ways, because we just taking advantage, between brackets, of the existing shipping, and we just invited artists that had a gallery in the art fair too. So this part is quite important also. But the selection, which is made by Koralay Abdukalikova and myself for Radicans, reflect the current condition of nature in a way, which is mainly used as a raw material. So that it be many different diverse takes made by the artist today on nature and the way it's utilized, the way it is industrialized, the way it is, between bracket, frozen according to the standards of industry. So that's the general atmosphere of the exhibition. So all works, Frozen Forest will show artists representing or presenting in many different ways. It's going to be a very diverse in terms of aesthetics. Also, that's really important. We reflect in a way what's going on in the art fair in general, but the common point will be the representation of a kind of the alienation of natural elements and the diverse versions artists can have of nature today. Yeah, in this way, it's going to be very complementary in an interesting way, I think, with the project of Morad Montazami, which I'm really looking forward to see too. In terms of functioning of this space, of this oasis, during lunchtime and dinner, actually, the exhibition will become a kind of real oasis, for the visitors, where they can access to a real culinary experience, which is conceived and executed by one of the most creative chefs in the world, Ivan Brem, from Singapore, whose particularity is to actually just above the restaurant, he has an art center. He organizes exhibitions of contemporary art, at the top of the restaurant. So he's as much an artist than a chef, I would say. That's why it's going to be a unique experience. And unfortunately, it's not going to be available for everyone because the seats are limited, of course. But it's quite interesting to try to fight to get a seat, I think. So Ivan, of course, will be there every day, and there will be a kind of very specific kind of installation, gathering the artworks. The atmosphere will be completely different and kind of preserved from the rest of the art fair. That's the idea of the oasis, in a way. So that's it. I wanted to just say a few words about it in a very synthetic way. And I'm very happy that it just seems to correspond in a way to the spirit of this edition of Abu Dhabi Art.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Nicolas, for those insights. And we can't wait to see the exhibition, which is open to the public from 2:30 to 6:30 daily. And for those forward planning enough to book a space in the sort of convivial restaurant or chef's table of Ivan Brem, that has to be done in advance. As Nicolas said, it only has a capacity for 30 people, so do make your advance bookings to enjoy the entire immersive experience. But if you have not managed to do so, come and explore the exhibition at those times I mentioned, between 2:30 and 6:30 daily. Thank you very much. Well, I think we have touched on most of the things we really need to discuss today. We do, of course, have a pavilion prize that we run every year. This year won by Mariam El Tamimi, which you will encounter, of course, in the main parking in front of the fair as the welcome pavilion. We've also run a logo prize for students, and the winner for that is Batul El Tamimi. And with that, we're going to conclude. I thank everyone for sharing all their exciting projects with us today. I certainly can't wait to explore them in person in the upcoming days. And I look forward to seeing all of our visitors in the near future. Thank you, and see you next week. Bye-bye.